is Jeffrey Wang. I am founder of MediaWikis and one of the, co-founders of Canasta, along with your Wang, Ike Pact, and the WikiTech staff members as well. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, we'll talk about the latest updates since, well, it was going to be since December, but that's pretty recent. So I'll talk about basically everything since MediaWiki content 23. So for those of you who are new to Canasta, what exactly is it? We call it Comfy Home for your data, but it's basically an all-in-one MediaWiki package that's based on Docker. And the point is that it makes it easy for sysadmins to manage MediaWiki, add extensions, and then load starter content and data structures onto the wiki. So instead of having to spend all this time, installing Apache, MySQL, all this other stuff, and then you can install MediaWiki, and then you have to figure out how to add Cirrus search, and then how to make visual editor work. You don't have to worry about that. You could just install Canasta as a Docker image on a VM. And at EMW Con 2022, I demoed it live successfully from scratch throughout the presentation. So when I say that you can get all of this set up in 15 minutes, you can check the tapes on that. But the whole point is to reduce the technical and administrative complexity and spend less time setting it up, getting back more time for actually using your wiki. So, yep, these are the three founding companies. But Canasta is not just a Docker image. That's just the base layer of it. Canasta is composed of basically 4 components, I think, now. We have the tech stack, which includes the Docker image itself, the extension and skin collection, which you're going to talk about yesterday, but that's all the 150 plus extensions plus a dozen or two skins that are included that you don't have to install yourself. They're already bundled in Canasta. You've got starter pages and data structures for trying to solve that blank page problem. So we've got Page Exchange, which is an extension that your created, and Canasta supports Page Exchange and allows you to add these starter pages and data structures onto your wiki so that it'll be easier for you to get your wiki started with the structure of pages and stuff. But then on the side, you have the Canasta CLI, which was developed 2 years ago. That helps you set up the Canasta tech stack without you having to use any Docker commands of your own. And then you can also install extensions and skins onto your wiki directly with the Canasta CLI. So who's using the Canasta stack? WikiWorks, WikiTech, and MediaWikis, all help to develop it. But we also now have this US Space Force using Canasta, and I know they are here, so we want to thank you for using it. Do y'all like using it? Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, okay. Awesome. Sounds great. So if the Space Force is using it, I think it's a safe bet that everyone else can use it as well. And I have talked with them. We've worked together on quite a few things to make sure that Canasta works for them, and it'll work for you as well. So some statistics. The latest statistics I pulled up from GitHub. We have nearly 75,000 downloads right now for our Canasta Docker image. That's up from 39,000 in December 2023. We have frequent updates for many contributors and lots of ideas in the pipeline. So yeah, it's pretty lit. Can you move to Canasta easily? The answer is yes, of course you can. Because I've showed you how to set up a Canasta wiki in 15 minutes from scratch. It'll take only a little bit longer for actually moving it, because you have to export it and import it a little bit. But basically the process is you export your wiki's contents, extract its local settings, go to canasta.wiki, read the documentation. It's very quick. Get yourself a server, set up Docker in under 5 minutes. It's literally just running 3 commands from the Docker documentation website. And then you set up Canasta with the CLI in under 5 minutes. And then you add in your database dump and your local settings, and you're good to go. All right, so what has happened since December? We are now at 2.0.1. We were at 2.0 in December. So we have upgraded it to PHP 8.1. We'll be on Debian Bookworm 12.5 very soon. There's PR out for it. we basically made a lot of under the hood improvements. So there's not that much new stuff in the past few months, but and that got me thinking, like, wow, is Canasta like slowing down or something? Like, what's going on? Well, no, it just means that we're a maturing, platform now. We have basically gotten all of the big dream, projects that we wanted to get done over the past few years, and now we can safely say that, we can finally focus on some other smaller things and just keep it chugging along and making sure that we're watching out for the next big tech trend that we have to follow. Yeah, that's fine. All right, so the biggest thing that we're working on right now, I guess, is just revisiting our extension collection. The skin collection is kind of small. We can work on that on a case-by-case basis. But there are so many extensions that we could install. Right now, we have several in the pipeline, like Quick Instant Comments, which Brian Wolf here wrote. Page schemas and line comments. I think this is a Wikitech extension. Edit, notify, etc. We also have unfortunately, some unmaintained extensions that we need to cut out of Canasta, and that includes semantic breadcrumb links and TinyMC. There's been some discussion over the past few months that maybe we should wait until the next LTS version comes out in order to remove those extensions. Whether you want to do that it's up to the community. So basically, anyone who wants to contribute their thoughts on our GitHub community, our mailing list, or our not going to say that, fortnightly community meeting. Yeah, not the game, but what it used to mean before Epic Games ruined that phrase. Yes, we have a fortnightly meeting. Okay, on every Thursday at, is it noon Eastern? Yeah. Noon Eastern. Yeah, 9 a.m. Pacific. Yep. I would know because I can't wake up at 9 a.m. Pacific. But anyway, let's see. Yes, and then we'll definitely design community extensions, and then the new extensions. We have a lot of new extensions that we could add. So the question now becomes who wants it and how soon. But as long as there's demand or interest in it, if you want to propose an extension to be added to Canasta, you can definitely do it. All right, but let me spend some time talking about wiki farms. That has been something that we added pretty recently. It's been our largest change since April 2023. So what is a wiki farm? It's a collection of wikis that share underlying resources, and they typically relate to a common cause. So this typically means that they are sharing the same web server or a group of web servers, and potentially also share the same user database. The hundreds of wikis operated by the Wikimedia Foundation operate as a large wiki farm, since they are all hosted on the same infrastructure, and any of their web servers can actually handle requests to any of their hundreds of wikis. Wiki farms should not be confused with wiki hosts, which often host a disparate set of wikis for different people and different purposes. But we'll start with wiki farm for now, and then I'll tie how wiki hosts could relate to this. So Canasta 2.0 was released a few months ago, and it added support for wiki farms. And because it moved Canasta from being able to only support one wiki to being able to support multiple wikis at the same time on the same infrastructure, we bumped up the major version to 2. I added here that it could be potentially for wiki hosts as well. And Jeroen has mentioned this several times. There are some people here who do operate wiki hosts here. There's one on the stage right now, and you might be wondering, oh, is this like a big reveal for my wiki switching to Canasta? I'm so sorry, no, it's not. But it could happen, right? So the great thing about the wiki farm support is that it could support, theoretically, hundreds of wikis on the same server if the server were large enough, if it's scaled, etc. And I'll explain later basically how all that works. But yeah, this is a major breaking change in Canasta, and we updated the CLI to be able to support adding multiple wikis, and I'll show you how that works. So we actually took our implementation of wiki farms from, it was inspired by the Wikimedia Foundation's approach. So one single instance of Canasta, which would typically comprise of one web container, can now handle requests for multiple wikis. Each wiki is still going to use its own MySQL database. The correct wiki settings in the database will be selected based on which URL is being passed into the request via the host header. in the HTTP request. The Canasta wiki farm, it's defined by a YAML configuration file. And I'll show you what that YAML file looks like later. That schema is set by Canasta. And then we use this approach to take advantage of the PHP opcode cache. So it turns out that, MediaWiki, the opcode that you use to run MediaWiki is the same for each wiki, right? Because you're not changing the version of MediaWiki for each wiki on this. So if I go to, the RuneScape wiki, and then the old school RuneScape wiki runs on the same server, well, they're both running on the same version of MediaWiki. I don't have to generate two disparate sets of opcode caches for them. We can share the same one. So as soon as the first user visits it and the cache is generated, the second user can take advantage of that first user's, even though they're not visiting the same wiki. Since all wikis will use the same MediaWiki code base, it can be cached once on the very first page load, supports all feature executions, and be used until the end of that container's life. We have 3 different use cases supported for wiki farms, because wiki farms, by definition, they're on separate locations, right? We could have them on different directories in the same domain. They can be on different subdomains, or even completely different domains for each wiki. And this can be mixed. So we can have example1.com/a and then b.example.com/c. You can do it. Yeah. So what does this mean? I'll start with the concepts. Wikis.yaml is now where the farms wikis are defined. This is an example of what that would look like over here. It's very simple, just have the ID and the URL. And now each Canasta instance is itself a farm instead of just a wiki. And so now we have 2 terms, Canasta ID and Wiki ID. And the Canasta ID refers to the farm's identity, whereas the Wiki ID refers to wikis within the farm. How do we make a wiki farm in 1 minute? You populate the YAML file with the wikis you want to make. You run this command. You type in the desired Canasta ID, admin username, and admin password, and then you are done. The wikis and all the wikis in the farm and the farm itself are all created, and they are all going to be accessible at the URLs as long as you set up the DNS correctly on your side. And then you can even use sudo canasta add to add them one by one as well if you don't want to use this files method. Once your wiki farm is created, the CLI makes it easy to add and remove wikis from the farm. The changes you make with the CLI commands will be reflected in the wikis.yaml file automatically. So keep in mind that every Canasta instance though still must always have at least 1 wiki at any time. You cannot just have 0 wikis. And if you want to change the wiki's ID, you can simply edit wikis.yaml at the URL and then restart the Canasta instance in Docker. If you want to change MediaWiki settings of each wiki, we now have settings directories, config directories that are specific for this folder over here. So then we also have shared settings that apply to all the wikis in the farm. And you can put that in the config settings folder. So what's shared and what's not shared? I know that the concept of wiki farm can be confusing, so I'll clarify about what's shared and what's not shared. As mentioned earlier, the Docker containers for the web server, Caddy, Varnish, and Elasticsearch are shared. One of each collectively power all the wikis in the farm. And additionally, when we're creating the wikis, the initial admin username and password are shared between the wikis. On the other hand, the databases are separate between wikis, and certain tables could be shared with WG shared DB and WG shared tables, especially if you're trying to share the user account, user table rather. Next, I'm going to move on to some current adoption efforts that we have for Canasta. So OpenCSP will soon be able to run on Canasta, fingers crossed. They're going to be using Canasta as a base image, and the OpenCSP image will be a Canasta derivative image. So the folks at Wikibase or Wikibase Solutions in the Netherlands are working with us to see how we can do it the right way. But what I mean by that is not just copying the Docker file of Canasta and creating a permanent fork. That's not the right way to go about it. The correct way is to use the Canasta image as a base image in Docker, and then use that and then start your own Docker file. Declare at the top, we're going to start with Canasta's base image, and then we're going to make our changes in the Docker file. So I did do a proof of concept in 2022 when I was in Breda, but I think now there's going to be more of a concerted effort to actually implement it this time. So what's the difference between vanilla Canasta and OpenCSP and Canasta? There will be additional setup scripts run during compile time and runtime, and Canasta's bundles, extensions, and skins will be removed and replaced with OpenCSP's desired ones instead. Wiki apiary is going to migrate to Canasta and run on a Canasta plus OpenCSP stack, and it's going to be using Wikimedia Cloud services as well. So what's the benefit of using Canasta in this case? Well, containerization technology is modern and the way to go. So it's, Canasta has demonstrated itself time to time again to be a reliable, powerful solution, and it's capable of handling Wiki apiary's data along with OpenCSP's stack as well. And it's a stable, mature, proven code base, as we can see. So the Canasta specific challenges that come with adding or migrating Wiki apiary to Wikimedia Cloud services is that Caddy is not compatible with it, right? So we need to find a way to remove it and self-configure a Wikimedia Cloud service compatible TLS termination proxy or equivalents. I don't remember the exact technical details, but that's just one thing that we have to figure out.
I think if anybody's curious, I can answer that question.
Okay, yeah, let us know if you want Cindy to answer that question. The second one is Composer. Yeah, Composer is a thorn in our backs. It's a perennial thorn in our backs. A biannual thorn in our backs. I'm just no, but it's just there's so many issues with Composer. It does a great job, resolving dependencies and things like that, but it's not very compatible with Canasta's, strict separation between, what's it called, like ephemeral versus persistent data. We try to, actually this is becoming a rant, a developer's rant, so I'm just going to rein back in and say that we've learned that the current way that Composer update command was being invoked might result in some dependency conflicts, so we had to figure out some, dark magic to figure out how to get it done correctly. Thanks to the Wikibase folks for figuring that out. And local.json customization still remains an issue to this day, and we need to figure that out. Derivative images, though, are great, and OpenCSP and Canasta, as I've said since SMW Contest 22, it is a step in the right direction, and this just goes to show that anyone can use Canasta to, as a base image, create their own derivative image. And then you really just want to follow these easy steps. You create your own Docker file, and then you change Canasta defaults any.php to have whatever you want, and then as long as you don't touch this file, you're good to go. All right, so what's next for Canasta? Well, at this point in our development, we just want to add more extensions, add some improved support for derivative images, inherit some great features from Canasta forks like Wikitext. For instance, Wikitext has site monitoring and plan AV anti-malware, and we figured that Canasta could use that as well if we have the time to do it. But don't get me wrong, these are nice to have. I mean, no one's Canasta's been hacked before because of not having anti-malware. This is more of it really is nice to have. And then built-in analytics is also a bit of a feature that we wanted to add, but because we want to keep the Canasta image light, we don't want it to break the Docker ethos of one process, one container. And hence we have not added Matomo into the web container, but we are still thinking about if we wanted to add it, how do we do it? Yaron asked me to add this part in there. We could add an AI chatbot into Canasta. If anyone's interested, let me know. The good news is the AI chatbot that I presented yesterday, it would actually be compatible with Canasta pretty easily. There would not be any additional dependencies required. So, this is 1.39, that is not 1.35. How Canasta can achieve more goals. So I've been preaching this over the past few conferences anyway. But yeah, our future success does depend on our community continuing to support the development of the project. And so that's going to require code contributions, future proposals, discussions of the future of the project, and donations for funding, future development by prospective and bright students who want to make a difference in the open source community. So it's important to note that actually this year we don't have a GSOC project coming up, Google Summer of Code projects. In the past 2 years we have had them. They've made a huge impact at Canasta, but this summer we're taking a break, and we will need to rely on other sources of talent to help us out if we wanted to make any, big leaps. So that's all I'll say on that. But I am very thankful for all the support that this community has given. Since I stood up in Houston 2 years ago to introduce Canasta, we've had an outpour of support from everybody. Just the immense everyone rallying around Canasta has been really great for everybody. So I really want to say a heartfelt thanks to the community for that. And I really want us to continue that good trend. And of course, we always need contributions. So if you are new to this community and you want to learn more, feel free to join our mailing list at groups.google.com/g/Canasta-wiki. Yeah. And we need developers, your input, and funding. That's the 3 things that we need right now. So for more information about Canasta, you can visit here. I think we have about 7 minutes left for questions. So yeah, any questions? Back to you.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that there's a way to bring a different wiki into it, where you would just basically provide a database dump and the local settings file that's input. Will it work with database files of older versions of MediaWiki?
So the way it works is if you have an older version, on the first run, Canasta is going to recognize that you have an initdb in there, and it's going to load it into the MySQL container. And then that MySQL container will take care of that import. But then MediaWiki is going to run. And I think in MediaWiki 1.39, it stops supporting certain older versions of MediaWiki upgrades, right? So you would probably want to download an older version of Canasta to upgrade to 1.35 first, and then upgrade it to 1.39. Because I think 1.35 is supposed to support upgrading from like super old versions of MediaWiki as well, right? Yeah.
So it wouldn't be it wasn't built in as a one step for people to
But
bring
that's
in previously unsupported things and say, hey, how do we make this?
But that's the limitation of MediaWiki, not Canasta.
But Canasta could have also said, hey, since we are a provider of an easy way to put something in, a safe haven, like a basket, would I need to, you're saying, you're giving me a solution, and I would going, yeah, okay, I could probably do this, in MediaWiki too, I just was hoping that this would save the hassle. And since the hassle is a little bit of a 1.35 could do this, and then moving up to a higher version, MediaWiki will take care of it. I guess it would be an opportunity to say, yeah, I can't take earlier ones because it looks for what version it is and does the appropriate thing.
Well, we welcome contributions. At the end of the day, we have limited resources and limited desires, and this is something lower on the rank because I've never heard of it until now, actually, as an idea. And the good news is that Canasta did start on 1.35, and our older version of Canasta inherently supports it because it's on 1.35. But yeah.
That would be the solution, just use the old Canasta,
Yeah.
get it to 1.35, and then update it.
Yeah, I wish I could tell you. If I were a billionaire, I'd be like, okay, I'll find a person to work on it today.
No, that's.
But
you saying no, it can't do it is also a good answer.
Yeah, they can't do it because MediaWiki's not doing it. And that's another thing I want to add about Canasta is that we try our best to follow the Wikimedia Foundation's ideas because they're the ones at the end of the day calling the shots on MediaWiki. So we follow them. We'll be pretty good. But on the flip side, if they're not going to support something, we also probably don't have the resources for it either, unless it's to contribute to the core mission of Canasta, which is to make it easier for our community to install it. Yeah. In a like a super impactful way, that is. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Jared?
So yeah, ClamDB requires a ClamD daemon to do the scanning. So would that be in the web container, or how much have you worked that yet?
I believe it would be the web container based on how Wikitech implemented it.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that would be a slight violation to the Docker's ethos, but I think that's an exception we can make because it needs
That's
to
something
look
with
this.
that, so we can maybe go, yeah.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. Rich, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah, is Canasta written in Go?
No, the CLI is written in Go, unfortunately. I hate Go.
Oh, okay. If you install Canasta, is it agentless in the sense that it performs the installation and configuration of all the components, and at the end of that process, are you left with installed configured components where Canasta is there's no ongoing dependency to Canasta? Or are you, like, if you use Canasta, is Canasta kind of ingrained into the deployment and you can't walk away from it?
I'm gonna side with the latter. I don't really know if that's how I would describe it, but it's not a walk away and have fun kind of thing. It is like you will be in the Canasta ecosystem for the entire life cycle of when you want your wiki to be running on Canasta. You don't have to use the CLI to run it technically. You could do it manually, but the whole point of Canasta is that we're trying to make things easy by giving you this suite of tools so that you can use it. And then if you ever don't like Canasta anymore, we want to make it easy for you to leave as well. Not that you ever want to do that, hopefully, but you can do it. You can do it if you need to.
Well, the goal isn't about one, it's about vendor, it's about remaining independent to a certain set of tools.
Fair enough.
And the concept of an agentless, so Ansible is agentless, meaning that it performs a set of functions, it's automation, and when the automation is finished, the result is indistinguishable from either the hard work of a super savvy admin or the efficient work of a set of automation scripts. At the end of the day, there's no evidence as to whether or not it was automated or hand done.
I see.
You're left with tools and there's no trace of the tool that put it there.
I see. And then here's the thing though, Canasta actually says that Ansible's approach is not good because Ansible does not have a way of guaranteeing the state in which the wiki configuration is at. And Canasta recognizes that when you just let Ansible do whatever the heck it wants, and then you can let the wiki user do whatever the heck it wants, you can get into these undefined states that then the agentless program is no longer going to be able to know what to do after that. So Canasta basically says, here, if you want to join Canasta, you can always join. If you want to leave, you can always leave. It's not like the Hotel California, but when you're in Canasta, we have given you a way of doing as much as you want, but don't touch the main core stuff that enables us to give you instant updates whenever you restart the container. Insurance that the config is not going to be corrupted. Things like that. These are things that we have to guarantee that we work. With Ansible, we cannot make that guarantee because of these state inconsistencies that can appear, but that's why we think the Canasta approach is superior. Yeah. So maybe we're not agentless, but we have very valid reasons, very specific reasons for why we don't go the Ansible route.
I would argue that you're arguing at two different levels of abstraction. And we can talk about that over beers later.
Okay.
But there's also a difference between Mesa and Ansible. And just because you're using Ansible doesn't mean that you're throwing all cares to the wind.
Yeah, you said some pretty disparaging things about Ansible. You didn't qualify with opinion, right?
Sorry. In my opinion, that's what it is.
For what it's worth.
Sorry. I thought I said that. Okay, never mind.
Canasta says, it's Canasta's opinion. Yeah, I would say it would be very easy to take the file structure from the Docker container. If you want to delete Canasta, you can take that file structure and move it exactly as is to a regular lamp stack or something. And so you're not really locked in. And also that by definition, any Docker container, you're using that container forever until you want to not use that container. You're always locked in. And also, since the beginning, I've sort of been pushing for Canasta not to be a Docker image. I would love to see a tarball for Canasta that's essentially what I described, which is what Canasta creates. Take that, tarball it, and call that Canasta for people who can't install Docker or don't want to. It ties into what I said yesterday, that everybody should be running the same versions of every extension. And if you could easily do that with Canasta, I think that benefits people.
All right, real quick, Daniel, then we have to close it.
So as much as we love writing the same version of extensions, or even a MediaWiki, sometimes some clients are able to upgrade earlier than others. Am I correct in understanding that with Canasta Wiki farm, I can't upgrade one site to 1.43 and keep another site on 1.39?
At the moment, that is correct. You would have to keep everything in the same version. I know there are very limited niche reasons for keeping multiple wikis in this different on the same farm on different versions, and I'm sure there are legitimate use cases for that. But that is a lot of extra work that we'd have to do. And so, if anyone wants to add support for that, you're welcome to do so. We don't have support for it at the moment. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.